The metal corridors of Research Station Delta 7 echoed with footsteps as Ambassador James Walker followed his alien guide through the facility. This was supposed to be a routine diplomatic inspection, just another day checking boxes and maintaining good relations with the Blue Crest species. And here we have our biology wing. The tall, blue-skinned alien named First Researcher Mole explained, his forearms gesturing at various sealed doors. We study many species here to better understand the galaxy's diversity. Walker nodded, making notes on his tablet. These inspections were usually boring, but necessary to maintain the peace treaty between humans and the various alien species. The Blue Crest had joined the Galactic Alliance just 5 years ago, and they were still learning the protocols. A muffled sound caught Walker's attention. He paused, tilting his head. "Did you hear that?" he asked. Mole's antenna twitched nervously. "Merely some test subjects. Nothing to concern yourself with, Ambassador." Another sound. And this time Walker's blood ran cold. That wasn't just any noise. That was a child's cry. "Open that door," Walker ordered, his diplomatic smile vanishing. "I'm afraid that section is restricted." "Open the door." Walker's voice carried the weight of 20 years of diplomatic service. "Now." Mole hesitated, then pressed his hand against the scanner. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Walker rushed inside and froze. His worst fears were confirmed. Inside the sterile white room, behind transparent barriers, were 6 human children. The oldest couldn't have been more than 12, the youngest around 6. They wore plain white clothes and had monitoring devices attached to their arms. "What is the meaning of this?" Walker's voice was deadly quiet. One of the children spotted him and pressed against the barrier. "Please help us. We want to go home." Mole spoke quickly, his words tumbling out. "This is a perfectly legal research facility. We are studying human adaptability. Your species' ability to survive in various conditions is remarkable." Walker spun around, his face red with fury. "Legal? Illegal. You imprisoned children. Do you have any idea what you've done? They are merely test subjects. They are human children." Walker roared. The sound echoed through the facility, causing several Blue Crest researchers to peek out from neighboring rooms. "Where are their parents? How did you get them?" Mole's blue skin paled to a lighter shade. "We acquired them through various means. Some were from colony ships, others from outer settlements." Walker was already pulling out his emergency communicator. His hand shook as he punched in the override code that would connect him directly to Earth Command. "This is Ambassador Walker. Priority 1 emergency. I need immediate extraction teams at Research Station Delta 7. We have multiple human children being held captive. I repeat, human children in captivity. Send everything we've got." He turned back to Mole, who was now backing away. "You have no idea what you've done. Your entire species has no concept of what's about to happen. They are just test subjects," Mole protested weakly. "Other species allow us to study their young." "Other species aren't human," Walker snarled. He walked to the barrier, placing his hand against it as the children gathered on the other side. "It's okay," he told them softly. "Help is coming. We're getting you out of here." He looked back at Mole, his eyes hard. "Humanity has only one absolute rule when it comes to dealing with alien species: don't harm our children. You're about to learn why." Walker's communicator crackled. "Extraction teams launching. ETA 40 minutes. Human defense fleet mobilizing." "You don't understand," Mole said, his antenna drooping. "This is valuable research." "No, you don't understand," Walker cut him off. "In about an hour, this station will be swarming with human forces. In a day, your entire species will face the consequences of this. The galaxy is about to learn why every human settlement, no matter how small, has a defense fleet, why every human colony has weapons that could level continents." He turned back to the children, his voice gentle again. "Just hold on a little longer, kids. The whole of humanity is coming for you. Above the station, the first warning klaxons began to sound. The emergency broadcast cut through every channel on Earth and its colonies. Regular programming halted midstream as President Tom Miller's grim face appeared on screens across human space. "My fellow humans," he began, his voice tight with controlled anger. "1 hour ago, we received confirmation that the Blue Crest species has been kidnapping and imprisoning our children for experiments. 6 children have been confirmed in captivity, with possible others yet to be discovered. In homes, offices, and public spaces across Earth and its colonies, parents clutched their children closer. Workers stopped their tasks. In New York, the massive screens in Times Square showed the president's broadcast, and the usual bustle of the city fell silent. As of this moment, I have authorized the deployment of the entire human defense fleet. This is not a military action. This is a rescue mission. Every ship, every soldier, every resource we have is being mobilized." On Mars Colony, Commander Jack Brooks was already preparing his units. Troops loaded into dropships, their faces set in determined expressions. They had trained for many scenarios, but this was different. This was personal. "The Blue Crest claimed this was for research," the president continued. "They believe they have the right to take our children, to experiment on them like lab animals. They are about to learn how grievously they have miscalculated." In orbit around Earth, massive warships powered up their engines. The flagship Defender led the fleet, its kilometer-long hull gleaming in the sunlight. Admiral Rita Stone stood on the bridge, watching as hundreds of ships formed up around her. "All ships report ready, Admiral," her second-in-command reported. "Good," Rita said quietly. "Plot the fastest course to Blue Crest space. I don't care if we have to burn out every engine in the fleet. We get there as fast as possible." Back on Earth, the president's speech continued. "To our allies in the Galactic Alliance, we appreciate your friendship and support, but do not stand in our way. This is not a matter for debate or diplomacy. We are coming for our children." In the diplomatic quarter, alien ambassadors were already sending frantic messages to their homeworlds. The Verdant, one of humanity's oldest allies, remembered how humans had once gone to war over a single kidnapped child. Their ambassador sent a simple message: "Clear all ships from the transit lanes to Blue Crest space. What's coming will make the Johnston incident look like a minor dispute." The president's voice hardened. "To the Blue Crest leadership, you have one chance. Release our children immediately, unharmed, and surrender those responsible. If you refuse, if you delay, if you try to use our children as bargaining chips, there will be consequences." In orbit, the human defense fleet began to move. Hundreds of ships, from massive dreadnoughts to swift corvettes, aligned themselves for the jump to faster-than-light travel. The sight of humanity's full military might assembled in one place made several alien observers send terrified reports to their governments. "We are a peaceful species," the president said, his voice echoing across human space. "We believe in diplomacy, in understanding, in working together. But there is one line that must never be crossed. Our children are not test subjects. They are not bargaining chips. They are our future, and we will tear apart the galaxy to protect them." The fleet vanished into FTL travel with a flash that briefly outshone the sun. On Earth, parents held their children and waited. In training centers, more troops prepared for deployment. In shipyards, engineers worked frantically to prepare more vessels. The president's final words hung in the air. "To our children in captivity, hold on. Your human family is coming. And to those who took them," he paused, his eyes cold, "pray we find our children unharmed. Because if we don't, there won't be a force in this galaxy that can protect you from what follows." Across human space, a saying from old Earth began circulating: "Never come between a mother bear and her cubs." The Blue Crest were about to learn that humanity was a species of mother bears, and they had just threatened the cubs. The Grand Chamber of the Stellar Council buzzed with tension. Representatives from 50 alien species filled the massive circular room, their voices a mix of worried whispers and heated arguments. At the center podium stood High Counselor Mex of the Blue Crest, his blue skin almost pale white with stress. "This is a simple misunderstanding," Mex announced, his forearms moving in agitated gestures. "The human children were part of a properly documented research program." Documented. The human representative, Robert Mason, stood up, his voice cut through the chamber like a knife. "Show me the parents' signatures. Show me the approval forms. Show me where any human authority agreed to let you experiment on our children." The chamber fell silent. Mex's antenna drooped. We didn't think permission was necessary. Other species allo. We are not other species." Mason's fist slammed down on his console. "You kidnapped our children. You strapped monitors to them. You kept them in cells." From their elevated seats, the ancient Verdant delegation watched with growing concern. The eldest among them, Ambassador Tre, leaned forward to address the chamber. "The Blue Crest must release the children immediately," Tre's voice rasped. "Our archives show 17 instances where humans have gone to war over threats to their young. In each case, the aggressor's civilization was fundamentally altered." Mex waved his hands dismissively. "The humans wouldn't dare attack. We are protected by galactic law." A loud alarm cut through the chamber. The massive central display lit up, showing hundreds of human warships dropping out of FTL travel at the edge of Blue Crest space. "Protected by law." Mason laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You still don't understand. Every human law, every treaty we've signed, has one common clause. All agreements become void if children are threatened." The display showed more human ships arriving. The Blue Crest representatives huddled together, their confidence evaporating as they watched humanity's full military might assembling at their doorstep. "This is your final warning," Mason continued. "Release the children. All of them. Now, you have 24 hours. Or what?" Mex challenged, but his voice trembled. "Or we'll show you why every spacefaring species has legends about human protective instincts. Why even the warrior Krell avoid provoking human parents." An aide rushed to Mex, whispering urgently in his ear. The Blue Crest leader's eyes widened. "Impossible. 3 more human fleets approaching from different vectors." "Did you think we'd only send 1 fleet?" Mason's voice was deadly quiet. "Every ship we have is coming. Every soldier. Every weapon. We've even had offers of help from 15 other species who understand what you've done." The chamber erupted in chaos as more alien representatives pledged their support to humanity. Others scrambled to withdraw their diplomats from Blue Crest space. "This is your last chance," Mason addressed Mex. 24 hours. Release our children, surrender those responsible, and we'll let galactic law handle the punishment. Refuse, and we'll handle it ourselves." The ancient Verdant ambassador spoke again. "Take this warning, Blue Crest. I have witnessed humans fight to protect their young. They do not stop. They do not negotiate. They do not show mercy to those who harm children." Mex looked around the chamber, finally realizing the gravity of his species' mistake. But it was just research. Just research. Mason's laugh was cold. "Let me tell you what's happening right now. Parents across human space are volunteering for military service. Colony ships are being converted to warships. Species that have been our enemies for generations are offering us support. Do you know why?" The chamber waited in silence. "Because everyone in this galaxy knows one simple truth. You never, ever threaten human children. 24 hours, Counselor Mex. I suggest you use them wisely." As the human representative walked out, the chamber erupted in frantic discussion. The countdown had begun, and the galaxy held its breath, waiting to see if the Blue Crest would make the right choice before humanity's patience ran out. The 24 hours had passed. Admiral Rita Stone stood on the bridge of the Defender, watching the last minutes tick away on the central display. Her face showed no emotion, but her hands were clenched tight behind her back. "Final status report," she ordered. "All ships in position, Admiral. First Fleet covering the northern approach. Second Fleet in position to cut off their escape routes. Third and Fourth Fleets maintaining blockade positions. Rita nodded. The Blue Crest had ignored their ultimatum, believing their advanced shield technology would protect them. They were about to learn a painful lesson about human determination. All ships, this is Admiral Stone. She broadcast across the fleet. You all know why we're here. There are children counting on us. Human children, taken from their families, being held in cages. Remember your training, but remember your humanity too. The bridge crew watched their screens intently as she continued. Standard rules of engagement are suspended. Our priority is reaching those children. Any Blue Crest facility that resists will be neutralized. Any ship that fires on us will be destroyed. Clear. Yes, Admiral. The response echoed across thousands of ships. Begin the operation. Strike pattern Delta. All ships, advance. The human fleet moved with precision that shocked the watching alien observers. Hundreds of ships, moving as one, accelerated toward the Blue Crest defensive line. The first shots came from the Blue Crest. Energy weapons that splashed harmlessly against the human ship shields. Rita allowed herself a small smile. The aliens had spent years developing better shields. Humans had spent those same years developing better weapons. Target their primary defense stations, Rita ordered. Minimal collateral damage. We're here for the children, not revenge. The human response was devastating. New weapons, never before seen in galactic warfare, tore through the Blue Crest shields like paper. Precision strikes disabled their defensive platforms without destroying them completely. Admiral, her tactical officer called out. They're powering up their planetary shield network. Deploy the shield breakers, Rita commanded. Small, unmanned ships darted forward, carrying devices that Earth's scientists had developed in secret. The Blue Crest watched in horror as their supposedly impenetrable planetary shields flickered and died. This is impossible. A Blue Crest commander's transmission cut through the comm channels. Your weapons shouldn't be able to. You took our children, Rita responded coldly. Did you think we wouldn't be prepared? That we wouldn't have contingencies for every possible scenario where we needed to rescue our young? The battle, if it could be called that, was completely one-sided. Human ships methodically disabled Blue Crest defenses, careful to avoid civilian casualties but ruthlessly efficient in neutralizing any military resistance. Admiral, we're receiving surrender signals from 3 major cities, her communications officer reported. Accept the surrenders. Direct them to release any human children immediately. Remind them that any deception will be met with extreme displeasure. Within 2 hours, the entire Blue Crest defense network was down. Their military ships were disabled, floating helplessly in space. Their ground forces had surrendered after watching their invincible weapons prove useless against human determination. Rita stood at her command post, watching as reports came in from ground teams already landing and searching for the children. Send word to Earth, she ordered. Phase 1 complete. Minimal casualties on either side. Beginning search and rescue operations. As the message was sent, she turned to her crew. They thought their technology would save them. They thought we were soft, because we prefer peace. They never understood. Understood what, Admiral? A young officer asked. That humans developed our technology for one primary purpose, to protect our own. Everything we built, every weapon we designed, was created with one thought. How can we use this to keep our children safe? She looked out at the now quiet battlefield, where human ships maintained their positions with unwavering vigilance. The galaxy just learned why you never threaten human children. Let's make sure they never forget this lesson. The search for the captive children had begun, and humanity's message to the galaxy was clear. We will cross any distance, break any shield, and overcome any obstacle to protect our young. Special Operations Commander Mike Turner led his team through the sterile corridors of Research Station Delta 7. Their footsteps were silent, their movements precise. Each member of the rescue team wore advanced stealth armor, making them nearly invisible to Blue Crest sensors. "Life signs ahead," whispered Lisa, their sensor specialist. "Multiple small signatures consistent with human children." Turner raised his fist, signaling the team to halt. They had already freed children from 2 other facilities, but intelligence suggested this station held the largest group of captives. "Remember," Turner spoke softly into his comm, "no loud noises, no sudden movements. These kids have been through enough trauma." The team moved forward, their helmet sensors scanning for traps or security measures. They found Blue Crest scientists cowering in corners, offering no resistance. News of the fleet's arrival had spread quickly. "Please," one scientist begged, all 4 arms raised in surrender. "We were just following orders." "Save it," Turner cut him off. "Where are they?" The scientist pointed down a corridor with a trembling hand. "Sub-level 3. But you don't understand. We were studying their adaptive capabilities, their resistance to different environments. It was pure research." Turner grabbed the scientist's coat with one hand. "You experimented on children. Our children. There is no explanation that will make that okay." They found the holding cells exactly where the scientists had indicated. Through reinforced windows, they could see children in clinical white rooms, some hooked up to monitoring equipment, others huddled in corners. "Breach charges," Turner ordered. "Minimal force. We don't want to scare them more than they already are." The team placed small devices on the door locks. With barely a sound, the locks disintegrated, and the doors slid open. "It's okay," Turner said, removing his helmet to show his human face. "We're here to take you home. You're safe now." A small girl, no more than 7, looked up at him with tear-filled eyes. "Really? We can go home?" "Really?" Turner knelt down to her level. "The whole human fleet is outside. Everyone came to find you." His team moved through the rooms, carefully removing monitoring devices and comforting the terrified children. They found 23 kids in total, aged between 5 and 12. "I want my mom," a young boy whimpered as Lisa gently detached sensors from his arm. "We'll get you to her soon," Lisa promised. "She's waiting for you. Everyone's waiting for you." As they prepared to move the children out, Turner discovered something that made his blood boil: research logs detailing the tests these kids had endured. Cold environments, hot environments, different atmospheric pressures, various gravities. "Sir," his second-in-command touched his arm. "The children need us focused." Turner nodded, forcing down his anger. The logs would be evidence for the War Crimes Tribunal later. Right now, these kids needed calm, reassuring adults. "Okay, everyone," he announced cheerfully, "we're going on a little trip. Who wants to see a real spaceship?" Several children perked up at that. They formed a line, each holding onto a rescue team member's hand. The team had trained for this, carrying emergency medical supplies, comfort items, and even some toys. "Commander," Lisa called softly, "little one here who can't walk." They were testing high-gravity environments. Turner walked over and gently lifted the exhausted child. "I've got you, buddy. Just rest now." As they led the children out, they passed more Blue Crest scientists and guards. None dared to interfere. The look in the human soldier's eyes promised swift consequences for any resistance. "Transport's ready," the pilot radioed. "Clear path to the landing bay." They moved as a group, rescue team members surrounding the children protectively. Some kids were crying quietly, others were silent, but all kept moving, trusting these human adults who had come to save them. "Almost there," Turner encouraged them. "And guess what? There are doctors waiting who have real candy. The good stuff from Earth." A small smile appeared on one child's face, the first they'd seen. It gave the entire team renewed purpose. They had come across the galaxy, fought through defenses, and breached this facility, all for moments like this. The children of humanity were going home. The Stellar Council's emergency session stretched into its 3rd day. Representatives from every spacefaring civilization watched as evidence of the Blue Crest's actions was presented. The images of imprisoned human children had shocked even the most hardened diplomats. The extent of these violations is unprecedented, declared the verdant Chief Justice, his ancient eyes scanning the chamber. 47 human children were found in various research facilities, each subjected to experiments without consent. The Blue Crest representatives sat in silence, their once proud posture now defeated. Their civilization's reputation lay in ruins, their military disabled, their leadership facing trial. Furthermore, continued the justice, we have confirmed that 6 other species were approached by the Blue Crest with requests to study their young. All refused. Only humanity's children were taken due to their remarkable adaptive abilities. In the diplomatic section, Ambassador Robert Mason sat calmly, but his eyes never left the Blue Crest delegation. The human fleet still orbited their worlds, a constant reminder of the consequences of their actions. The human response was precise, noted a representative from the warrior Krull species. They disabled the Blue Crest military without a single civilian casualty. Most impressive. We didn't come for revenge. Mason spoke for the first time that day. We came for our children. The difference matters. The chamber murmured in agreement. Reports had spread across the galaxy. Stories of human soldiers cradling traumatized children, of medical ships arriving with supplies and counselors, of Earth's best child psychologists already working to heal the mental scars. This incident has exposed a critical gap in our laws, the Chief Justice announced. While we have regulations protecting diplomatic rights, trade agreements, and territorial boundaries, we lack specific protections for the young of sentient species. Humanity has such laws, offered Ambassador Trey of the Verdant. Perhaps we should examine their model. Screens around the chamber displayed Earth's child protection laws. Many species were surprised by their scope and severity. The punishments for harming children were harsher than those for almost any other crime. We propose, Mason stood, a new galactic charter of children's rights, basic protections that apply to the young of all species. No experiments without parental consent, no separation from families for research, no exploitation of any kind. The vote was unanimous. Even the Blue Crest, trying to salvage something from the diplomatic disaster, voted in favor. There is also the matter of reparations, the Chief Justice continued. The Blue Crest must compensate the affected families. Money isn't enough, Mason replied. We require their research facilities to be converted into hospitals specializing in pediatric care. Their scientific knowledge should be redirected to helping children, not harming them. More policies followed. Every species began implementing their own versions of human child protection laws. Trade agreements now included clauses specifically protecting the young. Military alliances added provisions for joint response to threats against children. In the halls outside the chamber, alien diplomats whispered about humanity's response, how they had unleashed their full military might, yet shown remarkable restraint, how their soldiers had been both warriors and protectors. We misunderstood them, a Krell commander admitted to his colleagues. We thought their love of peace made them weak. Now we understand. They choose peace because they know exactly how effective they are at war. The Blue Crest representatives, under heavy guard, watched as their society was transformed. Their research stations became medical centers. Their scientists were retrained in ethical practices. Their laws were rewritten to protect the vulnerable. As the session concluded, Mason made one final statement. Let this be remembered not as a tragedy, but as a turning point. The day the galaxy understood that protecting our children, all children, is a responsibility we share. The ripples spread across the stars. Species that had never considered special protections for their young began implementing them. Cultures that had viewed children as mere extensions of adults began recognizing their unique needs and rights. Humanity had demonstrated not just their military might, but their fundamental values. The galaxy would never forget the lesson. The most advanced civilizations are measured not by their technology or power, but by how they protect their most vulnerable members. 5 years after the Blue Crest incident, the galaxy had changed in profound ways. The observation deck of Earth's new Galactic embassy offered a perfect view of these changes as ships from dozens of species moved through space, many displaying the new universal symbol for child protection, a stylized adult figure sheltering a smaller one. Ambassador Mason stood at the window, watching a Blue Crest medical ship dock at the nearby hospital station. Their entire civilization had been transformed, their scientific knowledge now dedicated to healing rather than experimentation. Quite a view, isn't it? Admiral Rita Stone, now retired, joined him at the window. Hard to believe it's been 5 years. The children we rescued are teenagers now, Mason replied. Most have recovered well, though some still need counseling. Below them, in the embassy's public gardens, alien children played alongside human kids. It was a sight that would have been unthinkable before the incident. Many species had been too protective of their young to allow such mixing. The latest reports are encouraging, Rita said, checking her tablet. 17 species have adopted versions of our child protection laws. Even the Krell have established special sanctuaries for their young. A group of Blue Crest doctors hurried past, heading to a conference on pediatric care. Their species had become leading experts in children's medicine, turning their research abilities toward helping rather than harming. They learned their lesson, Mason observed, though I doubt they'll ever forget the sight of our fleet appearing in their space. That's not what they remember most, Rita smiled. They talk about how our soldiers carried children to safety, how we brought doctors and toys along with our weapons, how we helped rebuild their society instead of destroying it. The embassy's alert system chimed softly. A new ship was approaching, a massive hospital vessel jointly operated by humans and Blue Crest. It represented everything the new Galactic Order stood for: cooperation, healing, and protection of the vulnerable. The Galactic Children's Rights Charter has been a remarkable success, Mason noted. Over 200 worlds have signed it now. We've established emergency response protocols, shared protection systems, and not a single reported case of child exploitation in 3 years, Rita added. Species that never gave much thought to protecting their young are now building special facilities for them. The Verdant even created parks specifically for children, the first in their 10,000-year history. They watched as a school group, a mix of human and alien children, toured the embassy gardens. The alien children wore environment suits adapted to their needs, but played freely with their human counterparts. The galaxy finally understands, Mason said quietly. We weren't just protecting our children. We were showing them how to protect all children. It's become a mark of civilization, Rita agreed. Species are judged not by their technology or military might, but by how they treat their young. A small memorial stood in the center of the garden, a simple statue showing hands of different species joined together around a child. The plaque read, "In remembrance of the lesson that united the galaxy, all children are precious. All children are worth protecting." The Blue Crest asked to build similar memorials on their worlds, Mason mentioned. They want their future generations to remember their mistake and its consequences, and the positive changes that came from it, Rita added. Their pediatric research has saved thousands of lives across multiple species. As the sun set over Earth, casting golden light across the embassy grounds, more ships arrived carrying diplomats for the upcoming Galactic Children's Rights Conference. Species that had once been enemies now worked together, united by a common cause. We showed them something important, Mason reflected. That true strength isn't about having the biggest weapons or the best shields. It's about knowing what's worth fighting for, and what's worth changing for. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest power wasn't their military might or their technology. It was their unwavering determination to protect the innocent, their capacity for both righteous fury and gentle forgiveness, and their ability to turn enemies into allies in service of a greater cause. The stars shone brightly over Earth, watching over a galaxy forever changed by the simple, powerful truth that the measure of any civilization lies in how it protects its children, all children, everywhere.